What advice would you give someone who suspects their partner struggling with this porn addiction? Should they reach out and maybe get information for themselves before confronting their husband, or they should confront their
Yes,
husband in a certain way?
they should have some options for them. You know, honey, if you'd like, I will get you a therapist appointment. I'll get you a coach appointment. I would like you to read this book. I would like you to listen to this podcast. Go to this 12-step group. Watch some videos on YouTube. There are so many ways to get better these days and to just learn about this stuff that you can do it in the comfort of your own home in private. And, you know, that should cut down on the shame. But you need to, I'm concerned about you. I'm concerned about our relationship. You may not feel like you have this, but I hope you will look into this with an open mind, because I have noticed that there may be an issue here and I want to help you.
Uh, uh, when I realized I had OCD, it was like 3, 4 years ago. And I realized by going on the internet and researching my problem, everything just made sense. Why I felt a prison in my mind, why people didn't understand me, why people felt they were walking on eggs around me. Well, it all makes sense after, because looking at the research
Yep.
that has been done from A to Z, it's you gotta understand you have a problem, and there's resources mostly anywhere nowadays. You can Google most of the stuff, and there's stats and how to approach different subjects. So for me, opening my mind to understanding what was going on in my head, not just seeing other videos of OCD people, but literally knowing the research, and made me understand who I am myself, and made me understand how to work with it and how to teach people that are around me. That's how I am. That's how I'm going to be. So, if you don't know that, well, you're probably going to hit a wall, because you're going to try to go confront him, but in the wrong way. And it's maybe going to make that person just close off instead of
And
opening.
and if he absolutely denies it, just say, you know, I'm
I saw your
here. I,
history.
I'm here. Just I'm here to help. And if you don't think you have a problem, why don't you try going 2 weeks without it and see if you can? And if you can, I'll leave you alone. But if you can't, whether you admit it to me or not, you know you have a problem.
That is so true. I got two more questions. What is the most rewarding aspects of your work as a porn in porn addiction and a betrayal trauma coach?
Oftentimes, whether it's addiction or whether it's the betrayal trauma, the first session, the person comes to me and they're very rigid and they're very afraid and
For sure.
I've never talked about this and this is, and by the end of the session, they've learned I'm not going to judge them. I'm not going to stereotype them. I'm not going to give them any kind of shame. And by the end, once they've realized that, we're usually sitting back and laughing and, you know, talking about these things that we have in common, and just seeing them change from having these issues for so long. Most of them have never talked about this for an hour in their life, and just seeing the relief that they have, whether they ever come back to me for a second session and if we work for months or years, or
Hmm.
that's all I ever see of them, that first time when they often say, man, you have just made me feel so much better. You have just made me, you know, relax about this. You've made me recognize that I can talk about this. And I think that frees them up and it changes their mindset. And that's really the first step that you have to take. Maybe they're not ready to end it. Maybe they, you know, we don't jive exactly and they want to go a different route to get better. But I love the fact that I can help people. And while I used to love standing in front of big crowds and telling long stories and taking questions, and I still do like that, the most rewarding thing I can do is work one on one with somebody. And as I see them improve over time, and as I see their life improve over time, that is just so rewarding.
That is so beautiful. That is so beautiful. Yeah, yeah. You're for sure a good-hearted and great person for sure, with that answer,
Thank
honestly.
you. Thank you.
And why I think that most people feel exactly like closed off initially, it's because it's like when you go see a psychologue there, a psychologist. I went to see multiple for different reasons in my life and trauma I went through, and I can read people quite well. And me, when I see that that person is judging me right off the bat, in my head, I'm like, oh my God, I ain't coming here again. And it was that for at least 5 of the 7 different people that I met. Literally, they can't take the realities of life of something of somebody that went through shit. It's like there's one of them in particular when I told them the number of sexual partners I had in my life. Well, that person like automatically there was 2. There was a man and a woman, and the woman looked at me like in disgust.
Yeah.
And the guy looked at me like he thought I was lying,
Yeah.
inventing this shit just. And my God, it's like I don't know if it's because the education that they have or the script that they have. Well, at the end of everything, I always felt judged and not really listened. So, and they came out with that was I had PTSD from 9/11, and I wasn't even at 9/11. I'm just a guy fighting for the truth of these people. So it's literally, I think it's because they have a script, or it's the education, because
Well,
you seem to
they
go
have
in another route.
experienced it. Anybody can get the education, and that's an important part. I went and I got the education. I've done research. I've actually been to therapists' offices and taught them about porn addiction. And I just think, and I've heard this from many of my clients who have tried therapists and it hasn't worked for them, is
Exactly.
that I was there. I experienced it. I know it. Yes, I can rattle off statistics. Yes, I can explain the science of what's going on, but I can also talk about being up at 3 a.m. looking for pornography, knowing I have to wake up in 3 hours and have a full day in front of me. And I know I'm going to be totally wiped out, but this is my addiction at 3 a.m. And a psychologist who doesn't have this kind of addiction is not going to resonate with that story. But if you told me that story, I could tell you, yeah, I've been there. I mean, I know you're in Montreal. I used to go to Montreal when I was 18, 19, 20 because of St. Catherine Street, because I couldn't get that around here in Maine. So, you're only about 6 hours from me. So I would go up there with friends
Wow.
when I was underage. And I remember running from a strip club to find an ATM so I could get more money.
Wow.
And, you know, and sharing that story with people, other people relate to that. But if you're a therapist who grew up in a very healthy family, who never had any of these issues, sure, you know the science, sure, you know the statistics, but you don't know like what it's really like deep down and dirty to be and have that mindset of an addict.
Absolutely. And I think it's the same with drugs. It's like you
Yeah.
could do all the studies you want, but if the person went through freebase or went through heroin and you went through heroin, I'm quite sure the judging part is gone. It's not there
Yeah.
at all because the person went through it. So
Yeah.
let's finish on, is there name us like shocking studies that are really gonna open that you didn't go through yet, that could really wake up people. Do you have something like that? I'm putting you on
I
pressure.
think I think what we need to do is I read recently that the largest consumer base of online pornography is 12 to 17-year-olds.
Wow.
And I think
I'm shocked. I would have thought 17 to 25. Like, wow, that's crazy.
12 to 17, I think we need to study these kids. I think that we need to find out what they're watching. The females are starting to catch up with the males as far as watching. I think we need to learn why they're starting. I think we need to learn what we can do for early intervention. I think we need to learn what we can do for education. It's going to be difficult for the 35, the 45, the 55-year-olds. You can deal with them one at a time. But if you can educate the young before they become addicts, that's going to take the biggest, that's going to hit the statistics the hardest. So what we have to, but before we can do that, we have to study and learn about this group. But there are so many people who are squeamish to talk to a 14-year-old about sexuality, despite the fact that something like 15% of them are already having sex. We need to grow up. We need to take the taboos away from sex, and we need to learn how sexuality and how pornography plays a role in sexuality of our youngest generation. That's ultimately what we need to do.
Absolutely, and it all starts with the fucking parents. When I see 11-year-old girl outside with a belly top shirt with a ass shorts, I'm like, what the hell? They don't even know the dangers of life. Yes. Not the kid, obviously she doesn't, but the parents either.
Yes, your ass should not say pink or juicy when you're 11 years old.
Exactly. When I was a kid, my cousin got kidnapped and we never found her.
Sorry.
It's all good. I was 15, she was 13, and she's a tomboy. She's like quite shaped for a girl. She's not the girl that you're just gonna pick up easy and throw in a car. She was quite a chubby girl, and she literally never showed up. And nowadays we live in the world that I see kids walking around in the street, boy or girl, like sexualizing themselves, and it's the child's gonna put what's trending online. Is the parent. Don't let her get the fuck out the door. It all starts with the parents and the education of these new generations, because we can have amazing people like you doing your part, going on podcasts and writing books, but it all starts with the parents. Because let's say the parents are strict and really make the person understand what it is sexualizing yourself, and these girls are wondering why they get sexualized by men. You do it first. That's why we do it back to that same person. So I think educating the parents is very good.
Absolutely. When I talk to a group of parents, or when I go on a podcast that's geared toward parents, I always have to say, you can put all the filters on your phone, on their phones and on their computers that you want to, but that is burying your head in the sand. Little Johnny may not be able to get onto Pornhub with his iPhone, but what happens when he gets on the bus to go to school and that kid sitting next to him is showing him what's on Pornhub? How is Johnny going to react? What is Johnny going to say? What is Johnny going to think? If you don't know those answers, you are not porn-proofing your kid. You're throwing them to the lions.
Absolutely. And now we have sites that detorn a lock site. So you could lock www.pornhub.com, but there's sites that are going to send you to Pornhub still, but without the same URL at the top. So literally, it would never finish. So it all starts again with the parents.
Reddit is the 4th biggest porn site in the world. YouTube is the 5th biggest porn site in the world.
Wow.
If it's not a matter of if your kids are going to see porn, it's a matter of when.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know what they're going to do, you haven't prepared them.
So thank you, Josh, to come in on our show. Where can everybody find you and your socials?
Yeah, you can find me on my website. It's thatcorncoach.com, corn like the vegetable, because in social media, you're not able to use the word porn. So the code word for porn in social media is corn. So it's thatcorncoach.com. And the only place that I'm on social media anymore is TikTok, and that is That Corn Coach. And if you're looking to book a session with me, you can go to my TikTok. There's a link there, or you can go to my website, thatcorncoach.com, and there's a link there as well.
Perfect. So thank you coming on the show. Thanks everybody for coming on the show on the Rumbling Facts podcast this week, and have a great weekend, everybody.